It's time for soap opera rankings again. We have made it to April 2022 already. Time is flying. I've been doing this since October already, which is going on 7 months of soap opera rankings. And once again, Days of Our Lives finds itself at the very bottom of my rankings, and it's where it deserves to be for sure. So far, every month of 2022, Days of Our Lives has been the worst soap opera, looking like it's going to be the worst soap opera of the year for sure. And they better start actually taking this seriously, because their TV ratings have also been pretty bad as of late. I don't think I'm the only one sick of the possession storyline anymore. Just a couple of weeks ago, Days of Our Lives was the lowest rated show in daytime out of everything. Talk shows, game shows, Days of Our Lives was at the very bottom of the ratings a couple of weeks ago. And that's some bad news. I mean, if you're lower than the talk, you might be doing something wrong, to say the least. So let's get into some of the storylines. I mean, I don't even want to talk about the storylines. To me, the storylines have only gotten worse since March. Days of Our Lives has only gotten worse. Yes, Days of Our Lives had 2 entertaining wedding episodes in April, but outside of those 2 episodes, it was more of the same stories, and all of the stories on this show are terrible in every single way. The possession at this point is just... does anybody actually care? Does anybody want to watch it? There's been no rhyme or reason to this story in the first place. And now that it's just dragging on and on, I think I don't care about any part of this story. It is stupid. It's just stupid. And with this story, we have Jan being pregnant because the devil had Jan morph into Belle to sleep with Sean, and Belle's been handling this super immature. And I don't think this storyline is doing any of those characters any favors. And so we have Ali possessed now. The Saint's just going to jump from person to person. And we're going to care about none of them. They took the Sarah storyline even further. She no longer thinks she's Renee. She's regressed into a child. I guess this is supposed to be great television, because once upon a time, Ron told this exact same story on One Life to Live, because all I could do is retell his shitty stories. So yeah, Ron continues to just drive these stories into the ground. They're all pretty damn bad. We had the double wedding. It was entertaining, at least. That's the best I could say. The only positive thing I could say for Days of Our Lives this month is that the double wedding was at least kind of entertaining, with Leo and Craig and Gwen and Xander. Gwen was finally... Well, both Leo and Gwen were both kind of taken down. Gwen was taken down by Abby. That was a nice moment. And we'll see where that goes from there. I've heard rumors. I don't know if it's good or bad at this point, because everything on this year on Days seems pretty terrible. We have TR beating women. He continues to be the biggest villain on the show, despite the show having the devil on it, like I've already talked about, I think, last month. Or like, I can't even take TR as a scary villain seriously, because on this same exact show, we have the devil running around Salem, turning the filling of a cake red. Ooh, the cake turned red by the devil. What are we doing here? Shout out to my homeless cats out there, but what are we doing here, Papa? Ron needs to fucking be fired, I think. I don't, what else is there to do? I don't know who can replace him, though. I think it needs to be some fresh meat in the soap opera world. But yeah, I think Ron has maybe ran his course on Days. He's gotten to that point, the same point he got on General Hospital, where he's at a point where every single story he's telling at the same time sucks. They all suck. I don't have much time to give him. But apparently the show does, because they're riding into late fall at this point. So we're going to be stuck with Ron's shit for several more months. And, you know, Ron's spiteful. He's petty. And he's getting a lot of hate on Twitter now. So he might just be riding petty shit to make the show even worse. Who knows? We are getting another Beyond Salem on Peacock here in like 2 months or less. with the return of Bo and Hope, even though Bo died, but it's Days, so who knows? I mean, that is my favorite character of all time, probably is Bo. It's a toss-up between Bo and Jack. But, I mean, I will definitely watch Beyond Salem. I thought the first Beyond Salem was good and entertaining. And I will include Beyond Salem in my ranking of Days of Our Lives, depending on when it airs. So, I mean, it could help Days in my rankings for once. Nothing's going to help it in May. I think that comes out in June, so I expect Days of Our Lives to stay in last place in May as well. Like, I can't even explain how bad Days is compared to these other soap operas in my rankings, because all of the American soap operas right now are pretty bad. I think they're all pretty bad in some way, shape, or form. There's also Emmerdale, a British soap opera that's super boring. But Days of Our Lives is really in a league of its own as far as terrible to me. It is in the basement, and none of these other soap operas are even close to being that bad. There's no competition for how bad Days is, because to me, Days is totally unwatchable in every way. It is a struggle for me to turn on an episode, and even if I fast forward some of it, it's still a struggle to get through. And, you know, Bold and the Beautiful might be going that way if they go back to their love triangle from hell. But right now, in April, nothing else was as bad as Days to me. Not even close. So Days is in last place, and nothing is even close to being as bad as Days. That is how bad Days is to me. I think the fact that every single storyline sucks, it's just bad. There's just nothing to look forward to. And who knows, apparently the possession is supposed to end in May, so I've heard. I think, Isaiah, you've said it in the comments. I've heard it on Twitter as well. I don't know if that's true. I hope it's true. But that alone isn't going to save the show at this point. I think ending the possession is a good step, but with the possession, every single other storyline got brought down with it. So it's going to be a long build back up for me to start giving a shit about these stories again, because the possession really screwed everything up badly. And, you know, maybe it's kind of unfair because I don't think Ron is the one that wanted to do the possession in the first place. That was Corday and Albert, the producers. That was a big fuck up from them. But still, the fact that the rest of the show is on the same bad level as the possession at this point in time means that Ron has gone off the rails. They let him get away with too much. And when that happens with Ron, you need to balance him out with someone else. So they still either need a goddamn co-writer or Ron just gotta go. Because Days of Our Lives is in a bad place. The fact that it was the last place thing on all of daytime in America in the ratings a couple weeks ago is pretty bad. So it's not a great sign. I think the fact that they have Beyond Salem on Peacock helps this show survive longer, but the ratings are probably going to need to get it together because it's getting pretty dire these past few weeks in the Days ratings. What is there anything else I even need to talk about these stories? I hate them all so much. Like, they really ruined Craig and Nancy for this ridiculous over-the-top Leo storyline. Craig looks like a terrible human being. I can't give him any redemption anytime soon. One thing I did find interesting was, like, they kind of teased a Clyde and Nancy coupling. I didn't hate that, but I still don't like Clyde even a tiny bit. He's a pretty pointless character. We have Chanel moving on to Trip now. Chanel sure gets around in that quad. But, you know, Chanel makes everyone more entertaining. So I guess that's something else positive. But, yeah, I mean, all I can really say is I've never been more happy that Matthew Ashford is on recurring. Because, you know, I said earlier, Bo and Jack are probably two of my favorite characters of all time on this show and in all of soap operas. And I've hated how the show has treated Jack over the past several decades, killing him off all the time. But I've never been happier that Jack and Matthew Ashford is on recurring, so Jack is not involved in all of these shitty storylines. In fact, Jack returned for one of the only good parts of the month, that being the wedding. I don't think Matthew Ashford is still on recurring. I think he's back on contract, but I don't know if that's completely true. Either way, at least the character of Jack hasn't had to suffer through some of these storylines. He is attached to Gwen, which is bad enough. But, yeah. Anyway, Days remains in last place in my soap opera rankings for April. It's what it deserves.